Welcome back. I'm Dee.
And I'm CHANTA.
And this is The Block. Y'all already know, if y'all been following us or if you're new, that this is the place where you come share your story of your life-changing events. Everyone has a story, right?
Absolutely. This is a safe and comfortable place where you can kick off your shoes and relax your feet. Come on the block with us, just chill, and we can kick it.
Just kick it.
We can kick it, y'all.
Absolutely, absolutely. On that note, let's get into the drink of the day. What do you have for us today?
Well, first and foremost, we have our first sponsor. We want to give a shout out or a thank you to Weezy for sponsoring our wine today. It's called Chloe. This is it. It's actually a red wine. The founder of the red wine she is in the Women's Vine and Spirit organization, which is an organization to empower women in different alcohol beverages all across the world.
Great choice.
That was a great choice, Weezy.
Great choice. Thank you. As y'all can see, we're in a new space. We bought the block to Larte's Dollhouse.
Hello, my name is CHANTA. I am a licensed makeup artist / esthetician. I am the founder of Larte's Dollhouse and also Skin Candy and Body Essentials, which is an all-natural skincare line, and I am here to tell my story.
So before you get into your story, CHANTA, because we got two CHANTAs in here, so we doing families today.
Absolutely.
So before you get into your story, I think we should, drink some of this red wine. There you go. I'm gonna shrimp it. So I'm gonna pour out my guest first.
Thank you.
And now I just, get myself a little.
It's a baby sip.
That ain't no baby sip, girl. What is you talking about? Come on, give me a little more. CHANTA, you tell me when to stop.
Alright, that's good.
So y'all, let's take a sip. It's no sense of our wine sitting here looking crazy. Toast to good vibes. That's a good dry.
See, I can go get you right to the point.
Yeah, it do. It tastes like, hey baby, I ain't playing no games.
Yeah, it's like
it's giving.
Yeah, it's giving. I can get right now.
Baby, about to Okay, well, let's get into the story. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
All right, let's start from the top.
Okay.
Being in the household with your brother.
Okay. So again, it was 4 of us. I had 3 little siblings, They were all boys. I was the oldest. They were the youngest. My little brother, his name is Alonzo. Everybody in the streets call him Boom Boom Boom. And so he was the protector. Again, he thought he can protect me from anybody and anything. Woman, man, child, grandma, granddaddy, he don't care. He had no discrepancies.
And he was the youngest of 4.
Yeah, he was the youngest of 4. We grew up in the Paxton area, and he went to Biltmore Elementary, and then from there he went to Reebok Middle once he got in middle school. In high school he did Reebok High a little bit, but he didn't finish. But that's pretty much his story. He didn't do a lot of sports or anything like that because at an early age they found out that he kind of had a heart murmur, so he didn't really get to participate in sports like that. He was, again, he's very emotional. The last child, you know how they always be, they need their attention.
Girl, I can,
yeah.
Them baby brothers is something.
Listen, and so he always felt like he needed his attention. He had to make his mark in the room. He had to let you know he was there. And that's who he was. We lived together up until I turned 18. At 18, I moved out. Once I moved out, maybe like 3 years later, he moved in with me for a short period of time, maybe like a year, not even maybe a full year, but a year. He ended up getting a girlfriend, so you know how that go. He moved out on me or whatever, but I can always call him anytime I called. If it was something that I needed him to do, come and do in regards to me, his niece, his nephew, whatever, he was always there. I was the person, I would just kind of tell you a little funny story. I remember he was incarcerated and he got out, and my mom called and she said, your brother done went and got a tattoo. And I was like, 'cause my mom really kind of opposed to it, so she was like, he went and got a tattoo. So I was like, okay, like he grown, like what's the big deal? So she like, he didn't get my name, he got your name. I was like, oh, that's why you So again, he was the youngest, but he felt like he was the oldest. He felt like he was the protector. He felt like he was the provider. At any cost, he gon' make it happen. Like no matter if he ain't happy, he gonna figure it out the way to get it. So I loved him for that.
So how did you feel when she told you that it was your name?
It didn't really surprise me, because with all of my little brothers, if with the exception of him no longer being here, but I have 2 other little brothers, if you were to talk to them, communicate with them, they'll tell you my sister raised me. My mama called me and say, hey, call and tell your brother to do so and so, because he gonna listen to you. That's the relationship that we have. Like, I can call if they having a confrontation and I'm like, hey, what y'all got going on over there? Like, hey,
your voice did everything together.
Like
I can relate.
If I'm coming over there, y'all acting a fool, you ain't gotta come yet. They know, like, hey, we ain't doing that.
I don't want Shantae mad at me. I don't want my sister to get in.
Exactly.
Them Shantaes know how to look.
Yeah. And that's how it was. So like, if my mom, like one day he made me mad about something, and I was like, hey, listen, you could call my phone, you could say whatever to me. I was like, if you start cussing, I'm gonna hang up the phone. And he was like, you ain't listening to me. So he called my mom. She called and she said, he crying. What did you say to him? I said, I told him, don't call my phone. If you cuss me, you don't call my phone. And so he called back and he was so worked up. He said, you gonna listen to what I got to say? I said, okay. So at this point, I just listened. Because I was just like, because I do have a soft spot for him. And of course, to him crying, because sometimes I can be very stern with them, and I had to learn to be that way. Growing up with them, I'm the only girl. I gotta make sure y'all take a bath. I gotta do all of these, number of things. So it's like, I gotta make sure y'all hear me. So I gotta make sure y'all respect me, because if I let y'all play with me,
Absolutely.
no respect. So growing up, and as we got grown, it's like I never misunderstood the fact that they were grown and they're their own people. It was just like, at the same time, like, I'm also the person who has to keep boundaries. I'm also the person who have to keep y'all in line. So if my mom called, they'll be like, okay, mom, hang up the phone. But if I call, they know, okay, my sister finna get us together. Like, okay, like, if they calling, it's business. So that's kind of more so how it was. But with him, like, he gonna push the envelope. Like, he gonna push the envelope until you can't push it no more. But you just gotta love him. Like, he was rambunctious, and he was just like, he gonna make it smart. He gonna come in the room, you gonna know he in the room. That was who he was. So
You gotta love him.
absolutely.
So let's go into that day. Like, tell us how the day started.
So, I'll go back a little bit before then. Prior to probably I would say about 4 or 5 months before his passing, he had just got out of being incarcerated, and he had a birthday party. He had a 30th birthday party, and we was all, excited, and, and he's like, I'm gonna have a party, and I'm like, boy, you is not gonna have no party. I ain't got time for that. And he was like, yes, I am. I'm gonna have a party. So that night, the center he was supposed to have his party at, I guess it was some type of miscommunication, and the people had the lights cut off. The building was locked and the lights was cut off, but he got into whatever, got to speak to someone or whatever to have the building unlocked and the lights cut on. So, how people is, they anticipated something, then they hear it's not coming, so like people on the fence. So a lot of people who he thought was going to come wasn't going to come because of the last minute mishap, but nevertheless, he had called me to cook for him that day, and I'm like, how you wait till the day of to ask me to cook something for you? So nevertheless, I cooked for him or whatever, so we got there, and he didn't have nothing together. I'm like, how you wanted to have a party and he didn't even prepare correctly. But nevertheless, we had a good time. I felt like we was in, you know, on our old stomping grounds. We had a misunderstanding before he went to prison, where again he was kind of lashing out, had a lot of stuff going on, and so. But I felt like he was home and that was behind us, and we were moving forward.
Yeah.
And so that was in November, and then shortly, I want to say the beginning part of April, March, he called one day. He was like, "Hey sis, what you doing?" And I was working. I had so many clients that day. My books was full from like the morning to the evening. And he called and he said, "Hey, can you come take me to pick up my tax refund?" And I say, "I'm working right now." Boom. I was like, I got, you know, clients back to back. And anybody who know me, who knows, who books with me, like, if you on my books, you on my books. Unless you cancel, I ain't canceling on you. That's just kind of my motto. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, you know, I got clients, I got back-to-back clients, but if you can't find nobody to do it, you know, we'll figure it out or whatever. He said, "No, it's okay. I'll ride the bicycle." And I said, okay, you know, I'm like, okay, whatever. And so probably about 2-3 weeks later, he crossed my mind. Because me and my siblings are not the type where, for one, we live 2 different lives. I'm kind of more of I got kids, I got a home, you know, I got a family. Yes. My brother, he didn't have any kids. He just lived a different lifestyle, I'm gonna say that. And so it was like, we may talk maybe 1 or 2 times in a month, but we were good. Like, the love was there. There's no disconnect. The love was there. We never, unless, you know, we stayed in the house together, we never really, once we got grown, talked on the phone every day or whatever. It was just like, I know my brother love me. If I need him, he gonna call me. If he need me, he gonna call me, and that's how it was. And so I remember he crossed my mind like 2 weeks before he passed, and I was like, I need to call him. But you know, life gets busy and stuff start happening, and so much is like going on within the time frame. And so
well, I guess I'll try to take a sip too.
Might as well.
So it was so much going on within those matter of those weeks, and so I was like, okay, I'll reach out to him. The time went on, and it kind of slipped my mind. And my other little brother called, and he said, "You seen your brother?" And I said, "No." And he said, "I seen him. He been hanging out with some boys from a side of town that he's not from." And I said, okay. I said, "He okay?" And he said, "I just don't." He just really didn't like the people who he were hanging around. Yeah. And I said, okay, I said, well, you know how Boom is. He gonna do what he wanna do. You know, you ain't gonna be able to stop him or whatever. He's one of those kids I always want, you gotta bump your head a couple of times before the light bulbs come on. So I was like, he'll figure it out, whatever.
Just pray for him.
Yeah, and so I remember that morning, early that morning, it was on a Friday, and I remember, I'm a dreamer, like, God communicates with me in dreams, so I'm a dreamer. So I had woke up, I had 2 dreams back to back. The first dream, I had a dream that my husband had passed, and then I went to sleep and woke up again, I had a dream that my daughter passed. And so I was like, okay, whatever's going to happen, it's going to happen back to back, and it's going to be a girl and it's going to be a boy. I knew that. I just knew that off the rip. After a while, once you've been dreaming and you go down that lane, you kind of know how to decipher what's going to be what. But still, I never thought that it was, I knew it was going to be close because of my husband and my daughter in the dream. So I knew the relationship was going to be close, but I didn't know the magnitude of it. And
I mean, was it scary to have that dream?
Again, when you're a dreamer, it's like, if that's how God communicates with you, eventually in the beginning it may be, but eventually you just kind of get to that point to where it's like, okay, I kind of know what he's saying. It's kind of like, a warning. Okay. So that morning I got up and I was working, I worked from home, and so I got up, I worked per usual, and so I was still just thinking, I'm like, dang, that was back to back. Like, how something just on your mind, I was like, it was back to back. And so my mom called and she said, well, the detectives came to my job and they won't tell me nothing. They said they can't tell me while I'm at work, that I have to leave work for them to tell me. And I said, okay. I said, well, call me back and let me know, when they tell you or whatever, what's going on. And she said, okay. She said they won't, she said they just was keeping everything really confidential. So when she left work, they'll meet her at the house and let her know. And so I'm like, okay. So I'm not thinking, nothing of it. Still just not thinking. I'm like, maybe it's got something to do with something else or whatever. So I go back to work, and I got a call back from my mom, and she said the detectives called, and she said, it's your brother. And I say, okay, you know, did he go back to jail? You know, that's the one I'm thinking. And she's like, no. And she said they found him on the side of the road. And I'm like, on the side of the road where? Like, you know, I'm thinking like maybe, I'm still not thinking death. I'm just thinking like on the side of the road, like, okay. And she's like, no, they found him on the side of the road dead. And I'm like, huh? Like, dead? Wait, what? And so like I kind of lost it for a second. And then I got up and I, you know, went over to where my mom was, drove over there. I told my kids and they were all like hysterical. And so I remember asking, I said, what happened? And she said, they say they don't know. And so I remember, because again, I'm just a person in the family, like I handle all the necessities when it needs to be done, kind of like a person that keeps the order. So I was like, well, you know, she's like, with the detective number right here and the people number right here. So I remember getting a card from her and I'm calling, you know, different people. And I called and I said, well, have y'all identified him? Because I asked my mom, I said, well, are you going to be able to identify him? Like, what's going to be the process? I don't know. This is something new for me. And so I remember asking her, I said, well, what's the process? Have you identified him? And she said, no. They said, you know, they haven't. So I was like, let me just start calling, you know, making some phone calls. And I started calling, and I asked the lady on the other end of the phone, I said, well, how am I supposed to identify that this is him? I understand you're saying that, you know, you guys found him, whatever. I said, but how are we supposed to know that, you know? Right. She's like, well, we don't do that process anymore. The process is, he was identified by his fingerprints because he was recently incarcerated, and I guess they kind of verified the fingerprints that way, and so that's how they knew it was him. And she's like, well, you can just call the morgue. I remember being upset instantly because I felt that it was a little bit distasteful, if I can say, because it's like, I understand that you've done your due diligence, but I still feel like, for one, it's a surreal situation. Right. And you want to know that you know that someone is saying that your loved one is deceased. I get their protocol, but I just felt like it was a little distasteful in the moment. So I remember still not knowing what happened, just knowing, you know, they found him on the side of the road. And so once I called the, you know, trying to get funeral arrangements set up and so forth and so on, with my mom or whatever, trying to, you know, help her do all of that. And once it, you know, kind of came out, they was like, you know, he had a fentanyl overdose. And I'm like, he was, you know, you can think you know somebody, but you never know somebody. Right. Yeah. So I'm like, well, I don't recall him being a pill taker. Like, I don't recall that. Like, maybe some weed, but that's about it. Like, I don't know about this other stuff, right? And so for me, I remember just being angry. Once I was able to actually identify his body, once he got to the morgue and be looking at him, I was angry. Angry for a number of reasons. The first one, because I felt like you were hanging around people that you considered to be friends, so that was the first thing. The second thing was I felt it was malicious intent, regardless if he had a fentanyl overdose or not. I felt it was malicious intent because you guys threw him out of the car. Yeah. He didn't have a cell phone, he didn't have an ID, he didn't have a wallet, he didn't have his jewelry, he didn't have anything. So to me, it's like, you gave him no chance of survival. Even if you had took him to the hospital and pushed him out the car and kept it moving, you didn't give him no chance of survival. More than that, if he had not been to jail, how would he have been identified? Exactly. His body possibly could have set up somewhere for however long until somebody positively identified him. And so for me, I became angry. And then when I was looking at him, when I went to view his body before, you know, they embalmed him and everything, and I remember just walking in the room and I just laid on him and I was like, nobody help my baby. Nobody. I just kept saying, nobody help my baby. Nobody help my baby. And I knew that they threw him from the car because he had a knot on his forehead and he had scrapes, and on his arms he had, like, you know, where I guess the concrete scraped his arm. And I said, and so I was trying to get a better clarification from my brother, because again, we live two different lifestyles. No matter what he does, he's still my brother. Exactly. And so I remember asking my other little brother, I said, tell me how it works. Tell me how it works, because I don't understand. Tell me how it works. Why would somebody throw somebody from a car, not see if they're okay, if they have a chance for survival. What's the process? Like, inform me. I'm mad, but inform me. And so he said, well, sis, you know, when people be smoking, getting high, whatever it may be, he was like, that happened. He was like, they just push them out the car. They don't want to get in trouble. I'm like, but if that's your homeboy, if that's somebody you say you get down with, you go to their house, you around their family, you around their people, the least I can do for you, even if you had not made it, was the decency to say, hey, I took him to the hospital.
Yes, absolutely.
And so for me, that was like, I was in so much disbelief. I was so angry. I was so hurt for a while. And the first year he passed, I think I was just in a numb place. Like, just kind of like angry, like, also to a place of where y'all are walking around and y'all took somebody's life. I ain't gonna say physically took his life, but you could have helped. You could have made the process a little bit easier.
Right.
Yes, I understand. I'm very spiritual, and I understand there's just time and place that we all gotta go. I get that 100%. But I also live in the real world to where I'm gonna do my due diligence. I see stuff happen on the street every day. And if it's something that happens where I feel like I can intervene to make a difference, I'm gonna do it.
Exactly.
So for me, it was just like, I couldn't sympathize with it.
Not only that, I mean, if he was with friends, he's the only one that overdosed. Like, he was the only one doing it.
And that, to me,
Like,
that's
it's
the
a
thing.
lot of questions.
Correct.
Yeah.
But again, you know, like, when you know your brother, like, again, like she said, you can't always say, oh, my brother don't do this, my brother don't do that.
Correct.
But speaking from my experience,
Okay.
and I had a little brother that was murdered.
Okay.
And
Sorry.
in the experience of that, it comes in, you know him. You know his capabilities, and you know that something happened, but you don't know the story.
To
Yeah,
the
y'all
magnitude.
live two different lives, but you know your brother. Somebody did something intentionally to your brother, and that's where you're at with it. Because again, I was angry and I was numb. I felt like I can't sleep, I can't eat, because I need to know what happened.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's just like a untold story until you get that confirmation, like, hey, this is, you know what I'm saying, and they're not gonna tell the truth.
Absolutely. And I just truthfully, on a different note, and again, I apologize about your brother.
Okay.
I truthfully feel like as a culture, we gotta do better.
Yes.
Like, as a culture, we
Yes.
gotta do better.
I agree.
Most definitely.
I feel that I understand we do things in this world and they may not be the brightest idea. They may not be the most collective ideas.
Right.
However, at the end of the day, would you have wanted that to be your brother, your nephew, your son, whomever it was? Would you have wanted that someone to discard them on the side of the road like a piece of trash and leave somebody to find them? Would you have wanted that for your loved one? And so to me, it's just the small things, like the due diligence of things. Because again, and we're living in this era of all these new drugs and all of these new things, and it's scary. And we can't protect people to the magnitude we think we can. But at the same time, it's like we still rely to some degree on the community and our culture to protect them to a degree.
Right.
And so for me, again, like I can't turn back the hands of time, and I can't, go back and say, okay, well, whatever. And I'm to this place that I can truly say at this point where I have to some degree made peace with it, that, regardless what happened to him and how it happened to him, if God never allows me to see their face and see who done it, I trust and believe that justice will be served.
There you go.
It's not my fight. And I had to learn that, because being bitter and angry, like, it's a whole process within itself, and it will weigh you down. Because you wake up every day and you're questioning, your mind is going, and you're not at peace.
Especially when you don't know who it is. It's like you walk in a building and you wondering, people staring at you too long. Did he do it? Like, it's scary to not know and to not understand it. In the world that we're living in today, people are so selfish. They're so
the perfect
inconsiderate of others. Like, if it's not about them, they don't care.
Absolutely.
And it's scary for our kids, as the generation that's coming up after us, and it's all over the place now.
And I feel like there should be more I guess the word I want to say, I feel like there should be more focus on, because what I feel like people don't tell people, and I can just be truthful, like I've never been a smoker. So I don't know the ins and outs of smoking. I've never done street drugs. I don't know that life. The most I've probably done is some wine and maybe some alcohol when I was hanging out. But I've never been like, that type of person, no judgment. However, at the end of the day, I do feel like people should be more informed of, and like even with my older kids, I have grown kids, and I communicated it with them very effectively, like, hey, stop smoking with people. You don't know what people putting in their stuff. You don't, if somebody buy you a drink, tell them no, you good. You have to have these conversations, and people would always say like, Chanta, you so dramatic, you so extra. But no, you have to go that extra mile, because nobody is gonna, tell your kids this. Some people are relying on what you didn't teach them for the world to teach them, right? Correct. And so we have to also understand that the same way we pray for our kids, there are other people that are praying on our kids.
Thank you.
And so at the end of the day, I can't say that had I had the conversation with my brother that it would have went different, because again, he was an adult able to make his own decisions. However, I just feel like as friends, if we're going to carry the word friends, be a friend.
Absolutely. I agree.
You could have gotten him help, and that's something that, although I'm at peace with it, that would never, for me, rest well with me. That if I call myself a friend and I see you in distress, whatever the reasoning or the situation is, I can at least do my due diligence, no matter what it comes along with. Even if it means I gotta go downtown and ask questions or whatever, I'm gonna give your family some type of peace to know that I did everything I could do to possibly try to save your life, even if it didn't happen. And so for me, that's all I say, like, be a friend. Be a friend, and as people, be cognizant of who you're dealing with, how you're dealing with them, where you're going. Pay attention to your surroundings. Don't just be so easily influenced, and don't just be so casual with people about the things that you're doing. Even if that's your daily routine, if you smoke by yourself.
Exactly. You can't trust everybody, because it may be times where you think it's your best friend, it's been your best friend for years, but they can be holding a vendetta against you. They can feel a certain type of way. The love that your mama shows you, this person mama might not have showed them that, and they can take on that as, man, I wish I had that, and that I wish I had in their mind it turns into envy, and them. Maybe they might not even recognizing that I'm envying this person. So you may sit a drink down and, okay, watch my drink, and you get up and walk and go to the bathroom, and I'm gonna get her. Because y'all might have had an argument the day before, and he or she might already be thinking on the simple fact of, she thinks she all that, or she looking at, her family this, her family that, and my family, we lived in this predicament. My mama ran the streets all the time. She didn't take care of us. This young lady, her life is good. Her parents love her. They show her this. And it's like, once you get that envy can sit in with people. And it's scary. So you have to be really careful. If you leave a drink, don't go back to it at all. I recommend anybody, especially our children, if you don't take that drink with you, or if you choose to smoke, I'm not against it. If that's what you choose to do, that's your life. But if you choose to do it, I feel like it should be done with you knowing what you're doing, not taking it from somebody else, because your brother might not have knew what was in it. He probably was regular weed smoker, and they passed it to him, and boom, he reacted, and they got scared. So we gotta get rid of this. We can't let this be found. But that's heartless.
Yes,
that's heartless. Like,
absolutely.
I sympathize with you, because my brother was murdered. Like, he was killed by supposedly friends. So it's the same walk, and it's crazy that we have to experience that as sisters, because I'm the big sister. I have an older brother, but to me, I'm gonna get my brothers in line. They're gonna listen to me.
Correct.
And it's like, when one younger than you or they younger than you, it's like, those are my kids before I had kids. So I gotta protect them. So when it happened, it's like, I failed my brother. Like, I went through that. This year will be 17 years, but I learned to cope. I made peace. Like, I had to release it, because I was holding on to a burden that just wipe me out.
And that's 100% true. Like 100% true. Like I said, I've never been a smoker, but it wasn't that me not smoking didn't have anything to do with the choices that my kids made once they decided to do it. And when they got older, even with my oldest son, he hid it from me for a while, right? Like I wasn't a fool, but I'm that parent that, like, if I ask you something, I've been criticized so much for saying, oh, them ain't your kids, them your friends. But for me, I'm gonna be whatever I need to be to get to you.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best way to be, to me, to have an open relationship with your friends. Because my kids, I mean, not with your friends, but with your kids. Because my kids, we are open like that, what they can call. My oldest is 19, and my second oldest is 18. And then, you know, it goes down. But I teach my kids to not smoke, not drink, because I don't smoke or drink. Absolutely. Even though I know, you know, when they grow up and, you know, get out, they're going to, you know, choose to do what they, you know, what they want to do. But I also, even though I don't drink and smoke or any of that, I teach them not to do it. But if they end up doing it, I also teach them, if you drink, don't leave your cup.
Yes.
Don't leave your cup. If you do leave it, don't take it once you come back. Even with the smoking, don't smoke with everybody. If you don't roll it up, or if it's not rolled up in front of you, don't smoke it.
Absolutely.
Because you can't trust everybody. Yeah, people say they're your friends, but truth be told, people allow that jealous spirit to get inside them, and unfortunately, it's just something that happens. I mean, it just happens.
And you know,
you might not even want to develop that spirit,
right?
But it just happens.
But that's what you said, not to cut you off. But that's the thing. Spirits, they jump. You can be dealing with, you know, no pun intended, example only. You can be dealing with a spirit of jealousy and greed, right? And so you can just be an innocent bystander and, you know, whatever, but you're so bonded with her now. Because you're so bonded with her, now you finding yourself kind of like developing these certain little moves and noticing certain little patterns with yourself. And so people don't really, I think they don't understand the importance of guarding your spirit, being mindful of who you're around, and that spirits and energy are transferable. And so once it gets to that place, like, and there's always small telltale signs, but I think sometimes we ignore. Yeah, we ignore it. And like I relate to my little brother, like he's always felt like the outsider. He always felt like he had to make his mark on his own. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. You know, he was always looking for a way for him to be able to identify himself and him to be a standalone person, him to be acknowledged for who he was and what he brought to the table. Never that he wasn't acknowledged at home, but it was just something to him that maybe wasn't good enough, or maybe he was searching for in some other places. So he did take to people easily.
Okay, CHANTA, let people know where they can find you.
So my Instagram is Lartay's Dollhouse _beauty1, and that's Instagram. My skin candy page is skin_candy EB, and that's for my skincare products. Again, they're all natural, so those are my handles for my Instagram, both of them, my facials and my makeup page, and then my skin candy page.
All right. So before we head out, we're gonna see what CHANTA has. And by the way, this is her space. This is her shop where you guys can come and get your face done and so much more.
Thank you. Hi again, my name is CHANTA. I am the founder and CEO of Lartay's Dollhouse, also Skin Candy Beauty Essentials. Today I am displaying my toner, which is the Lemon Drop Toner, and then I'm also displaying my Lemon Drop Sugar Scrub for your lips, and then I also have the Lemon Drop Sugar Scrub for your face and your body, and then also I have the Lemon Drop Facial Bar Soap, and then I do have an array of other bar soaps for your face, because I do understand that skin is not a one-stop shop, so make sure you are booking your facials and your makeup and ordering your skincare products.
Well, we would like to thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of The Block. Stay tuned for more episodes. And don't forget to follow CHANTA. You see her face?
Yes.
Thank you guys for the interview.
Thank you for doing the interview.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate you.
And I have, we taking the block on tour. So if you have anyone that wants to come to their block, hit us up at the Block Podcast.
First stop. Say the name.
The Dollhouse.
The Dollhouse.